Um, the overall events that were in the script and in the final film are a fairly good representation of what you can read about in history books. I mean, nobody really knows what happened because you're talking about a series of events that happened over 1,000 years ago. But a lot is recorded. You know, a lot has been written about, a lot was recorded of the day. So the key events of when King John signed the Magna Carta and things like the Roman Catholic Church and the Vatican then outlawed the Magna Carta and declared that it was an illegal document and anyone who supported it would be excommunicated. And then King John used that sort of papal vote and that sort of vote of confidence from the Pope to then raise an army of mercenaries and bring them over to England and go on this campaign of terror, where he basically destroyed castles, burnt villages, and tried to execute all of the barons that forced him to sign the Magna Carta, forced him to sign this contract. And I thought that was a really excellent backdrop for the movie. We were never going to be able to kind of depict and dramatize all of that. We didn't need to. You could make a movie about just those issues alone, but that would be a great, you know, kind of period drama. The key thing is I wanted it to be an action movie. As Rick said, I was really driven by the idea of making an action movie about a castle. There was several months where I went away after visiting Rochester. I actually went away and thought about, well, maybe the movie doesn't need to be about Rochester, it's just about a siege and a castle. And I read about a lot of other sieges, I visited lots of other castles, but I kept coming back to Rochester because of the events there. A key thing was King John. You know, to me, King John is a very famous medieval king. Shakespeare wrote a play about him. He's the king, the villainous king that turns up in all the Robin Hood stories. He's one of the most infamous of all the medieval rulers. And so a kind of key idea, conceptual idea, was that even though King John should not be the lead of the film, King John should be a central character in the film. And the idea that, you know, he should turn up and deliver some great sort of evil speeches. And that would also, from a strategic point of view of getting the movie made, would help to probably will land a big actor. You know, if we give King John some great soliloquies, there'll be a lot of big actors who will want to play him. And that was one of the early conversations between Rick and I, because Rick had just produced a film called Shoot 'em Up, which starred Paul Giamatti. And so we talked about, at a very early stage, Rick had the idea of casting Paul, which I jumped on to immediately. I mean, I thought it was a great idea because in my head, the character of King John was exactly like Paul Giamatti's character in Sideways, Miles, that nervous, insecure writer. And the idea that if Miles, instead of being a nervous, insecure writer who'd been born in the 1970s in San Diego, had actually been born the son of Eleanor of Aquitaine and Henry II, but was the same person, you know, with that nervous insecurity, the shyness, the nerdiness, but with all the power in the world. And we wrote the character with that in mind and with Paul in mind. So there was a fair amount of adaptation, but a lot of the key historical events, as I read about them, are in the story. A lot of the people, the characters that are in the film are the real characters, like King John, of course, the main Baron Albany, who's played by Brian Cox. He's kind of like the Yul Brynner character from Magnificent Seven. He gets the gang together and goes there. And Baron Albany was one of the barons who went to the castle, fought there and died at the castle. Sheriff Cornhill, who was the sheriff of the castle and played by Derek Jacobi, was the sheriff of Kent, lived in Rochester and lived and died in the siege. He was married in real life to an 18-year-old girl who's played by Kate Mara in the film. Very little is known about these people's personal lives, but you know, you can kind of read about them. A lot of the other characters, the heroes, if you will, who fight in the castle, those were fictional characters, like James Purefoy's character, Jason Fleming's character, Mackenzie Crook from Pirates and The Office. I mean, these were fictional characters that were created and kind of gave them particular fighting attributes or skills. And you know, the moment-to-moment action of the story was obviously invented for the film. As Rick said, I wanted there to be a lot of action. I wanted the action to be very intense. and it to be an action movie first and foremost, and then a historical film second.